Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy holidays, and welcome to the Association Focus podcast for the month of December. Hope you're doing well as we inch our way towards Christmas time. Everybody's kind of in this, I don't know where we're at right now. If we're busy, if we're not busy, if we're traveling, if we're not traveling, it's kind of a chaotic world, which I stay in my fast lane. But Mark Johnson, owner of Exhibitor Group, joins me now. And also Tommy Goodwin, who is the Executive Vice President of the ECA, the Exhibitions and Conferences Alliance. And as always with this show, gentlemen, we always start with the advocacy focus. And there's a few things to talk about. We hit a big highlight extra on our last show that Tommy and I chatted about, and he's going to carry us a little further in that. And then some interesting news out of Chicago. So, Mark, I'll turn the mic over to you and let you have this discussion with Tommy this morning.
Good morning, Tommy. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Good to be with you, gentlemen, and a very happy holidays to everybody listening out there.
Yeah, definitely. We all are hoping everybody has a nice, relaxing, safe, and memorable holiday season. So that's good. But well, let's get started. Again, on one of our last podcasts, we were talking about the future workforce bills that were moving through the House of Representatives. And I guess let's start out. Where do those stand today, and what do you expect that we can see going forward?
Mike, I know you're a poker player, and what's the old adage that poker is, hours of boredom followed by moments of sheer exhilaration, and sometimes it holds true for the work on Capitol Hill too, except it's, months and years of nothing happening and days of full exhilaration, and that is really what happened on these workforce bills. This idea of using Pell Grant money for skills-based training has been kicking around Washington, D.C. for years. And there was a challenge outside of our purview around, do you let for-profit colleges do it? Do you just do it with traditional colleges? And it's been a stalemate for, I'd say, probably about the last 5 years. And lo and behold, a couple of weeks ago, it broke. They brokered a compromise. They moved that bill through the committee in the House of Representatives, and now we're waiting for the full House to take it up. We are hopeful that that's going to happen in January or February. Play is going to pass over to the Senate. The Senate sponsor of that bill is Senator Tim Kaine from Virginia. He has already said he will accept the compromise. And so it's up and ready to go. So this is going to be one of our big goals in 2024 is to get this one all the way across the finish line and over to President Biden for his signature, because there's absolutely no reason not to do it. So we're hoping the Senate is going to take it up early in the new year, as soon as the House is done. And, for those of you who are going to be making plans to join us for Legislative Action Day, if this one's not over the finish line by then, I will give you a sneak preview of what our number one priority for those meetings on Capitol Hill is going to be, because this one matters. We need to get our future workforce the skills training they need, and this is one great vehicle to do it. So we're pleased with the progress, but we go again in 2024, and we're going to go all in to make sure this one gets across the finish line.
Yeah, Tommy, you talked here in some of the notes that, in 2023, the U.S. spent $23.9 billion on Pell Grants. This would open up great access for the funding for all of our skills training, wouldn't it?
And this is, I think, what makes our ask around this so unique is we don't want another dollar. We're not asking for more money to be put in the program. We're not asking money to be dedicated to us. We're asking for an opportunity to play in the same pool as everybody else. And so it's really about just access to that funding. There's proper funding in the program. What we want to do is to get it out of the college semester system and allow short-term, high-quality skills training that gets our future workforce what they need to get them on the show floor, to get them in the shop. And the big adage in Washington, D.C., when they talk about this kind of work is they said, they want to give people a pathway to a middle-class career. And what I tell them when we talk on Capitol Hill, we'll get you a middle-class career before your first lunch break. Yeah. We've got the place for you. We've got great opportunities. We've got a place for you to get a great job and a great career off the ground. All you got to do is let us play in the pool.
Well, we'll look forward to how this continues, because this information would help all of us. I know every association, EDPA, ESCA, IFAS, we're all working on trying to figure out how to expand this. And actually, just before this podcast, my meeting was with one of my top production guys that we're actually shifting him, and his whole job is to go off and work with the VOTEX in the area and get these young students to come in and really get excited about the industry and do a back to the old work release type program and bring them on the staff and train them and move forward. So we're excited about it.
The future of this industry, the future of ECA, the future of all those associations you just meant, it's workforce, workforce, workforce. And that's going to be front and center, and you'll be seeing so much more from us this year and all of those great groups that you just mentioned.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to it. All right. Well, we also saw recently in Chicago, as the largest city in the U.S., they passed a paid leave law. What does that mean for our industry, and how did ECA and other groups get involved in this? Why did that?
Well, the good news is, I'll skip to the end of the story. The answer is it doesn't mean anything for us. If he had asked me a few weeks ago, it would have meant a lot for us. And this was one of those instances, for those who've been listening and know what we did in Kentucky earlier this year around taxing exhibitors, it was the same thing, right? A well-intentioned law was written very poorly. And when they passed it, somebody took a look and said, well, it could mean something that you didn't intend, right? And that's something that it didn't intend was they wrote this paid leave law in Chicago. So everybody gets 5 days of paid leave and everybody gets 5 days of unpaid leave guaranteed. And they were trying to write it in a way that would get the folks who are working virtually, the folks who are in a hybrid work schedule. So maybe they're just coming down into the city 1 day a week, but they live out in Schaumburg or one of the suburbs. And so they wrote it in a way to make sure that it captured those people. But they wrote it so vaguely and set the bar so low, it would have also applied to every visiting attendee and exhibitor that was coming to a show at McCormick Place, Navy Pier, or any of those facilities. And there were requirements around record keeping for it and how to do it. And it was like, guys, this isn't really what it was intended for. If somebody's coming in from Seattle or Minneapolis or Atlanta for a show, subjecting them to a paid leave law in Chicago is kind of absurd. So we were in some conversations with their Office of Legislative Standards there, who implements the law. But it actually got to be such a fervor, and they were hearing from folks like the MPEA, who runs McCormick Place, to Chicago, the Illinois Hotel Lodging Association, ESCA, and others, that the city council didn't wait for them to fix it. They actually passed an amendment a couple weeks ago that made very clear it changed the definition of who a covered employee is now. So now it's somebody who's got to work basically 2 40-hour weeks in Chicago over a 120-day period. And it basically, nearly all the out-of-town business event exhibitors and attendees won't be subject to it. But it was one of those things that, it could have had very, very adverse impact if folks hadn't gotten involved. And you gentlemen know, and the listeners know, there's a tremendous competition between cities, between destinations for large events. And this would have been one in the X column for Chicago in terms of, thinking about where organizations, where associations want to have their conferences, their trade shows. So this one really could have had a very, very adverse impact. But thankfully, the industry and some of the other stakeholders, and there were other groups involved outside of the trade show industry, to make sure that this was amended the right way.
Yeah, again, good intentions. We all have to be careful that anytime we do something, there's always a possibility for the dark side or the backside of it that we just don't realize. So it's good that you caught that. So,
we'd like to get those ahead of time, but sometimes we play a little defense, and we are able to have conversations with folks and say, "Have you thought about ... and get them where they need to be."
Well, again, as we're coming to the end of the year, where do we stand on some of the other top priorities? What's going on? And give us an update of where we're wrapping up the year and where do you see it starting?
Yeah, let me think about some of the other issues that we talk about a lot. We always talk about visas on this show. We know that we were staring down a partial government shutdown on January 19th, a full government shutdown on February 2nd. We've got a piece of that asking for $300 million to help clear the visa and passport backlogs. That's a big one. We still have problems in places like Mexico and the Middle East. But at the same time, let's talk about the good news where there is good news. Few of the markets we've been focusing on China, obviously major market for trade shows and exhibitors coming to the U.S. That is still their wait times have stayed really below 3-4 months all year long, which is a testament to the work that's been going on there. And we've been really working with other groups, to talk to the State Department about how we get other key markets down, like India and Brazil. And from the beginning of the year, India's down 67%. Brazil's currently down 86%. So we're seeing some movement. It's not everything we want, but it is certainly moving in the right direction. We've obviously had some good wins in places like Kentucky, getting the exhibitor tax repealed, getting California's travel ban removed from the book. So lots of good work this year. But, we go again beginning January 2nd, 2024, and there's going to be a very robust agenda. And I think we're probably going to be playing a little bit more in the states and in city halls nationwide. But, we want to keep stacking up those wins for the hardworking men and women who listen to this podcast and the organizations they represent. So we're not going to rest on our laurels. We've got plenty of good stuff ahead.
We appreciate all the work that you're doing, Tommy. So let me ask you, where are you going to spend the holidays? What part of the world are you in and what's going on?
I am very fortunate. I'm going to spend. We're going to do a home game here in Northern Virginia, right outside the DC area. But we're going to sandwich that with going and visiting family and the grandparents in Southern Virginia and Central Pennsylvania. So we'll make our way about the Mid Atlantic. But I know with an 8-year-old, Christmas ain't about me. It's about getting him in front of those grandparents. So we'll be burning some rubber around this area, but it'll all be great, and it's still a joy to see his face on Christmas morning, and so looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, that's as a grandparent, Leo is my specialty. He just turned 5.
The chief.
So anytime I can spend with Leo is it's a picture. So thanks for doing that. Obviously, for all of us grandparents, we should want to spend that time. And it's a special time of the year. All of us here on this podcast and this industry and the listeners, we work our tail off. It's a crazy industry, and there's a lot of long hours, and it is time to take a little break and kind of celebrate and make sure we take care of those loved ones that take care of us.
That's exactly it. So looking forward to it, and I hope that both of you gentlemen have a wonderful time with your families, and I'll do the listeners out there as well. So happy holidays to all.
Need a presenter? Your Event Audio has you covered. Closed circuit audio equipment with turnkey operation at your trade show booth, live event, or private event. YourEventAudio.com is the place to go. DJ services, MC talent, and a whole lot more. Check out YourEventAudio.com today.
Save your seat now for Exhibitor Live 2024. The conference and exhibition for trade show and corporate event marketing is coming to Nashville, Tennessee, February the 25th to 28th. Exhibitor Live features 100 educational sessions and workshops covering everything you need to know to run a successful face-to-face marketing program. Plus, you'll enjoy 2 days to shop North America's largest exhibition of trade show and event products and services. Attention! Register now and save $400 with our early bird rate. Learn more at exhibitorlive.com. And now it's time to hear from our associations here on the Association Focus podcast.
Hello, this is Kai Happendorf with the update from UFI. Now, as the year is coming to an end, we have been reflecting on the many achievements we had this year as an industry, especially as well as around advocacy, with a very successful legislative action day we had in early June on the Hill. And it is great to see that filtering through the system now with the legislation in the House and hopefully soon as well in the Senate. Having said that, there is a full agenda for our industry to advocate for 2024. And from the global as well as the US-centric perspective, visas and ease of travel will remain right in the top 3 of the issues we are facing and dealing with. And just as we work on both sides of the pond to empower people and enable people to travel to events in the US and around the world, we also have to look into the connectivity issues around that, infrastructure, data exchange, etc. Everything that makes it easy for our customers, for the visitors and exhibitors to travel and attend trade shows is going to remain high on our agenda. For that, for every piece of advocacy, data is key. We need to show our relevance as an industry. We need to, as we always say, share the same story or sing from the same hymn sheet. And on this data, UFI is pleased to share the latest edition of a global research we are doing called the World Map of Exhibition Venues. Now, we are tracking the development of venue space around the world regularly, and the latest edition of this research has just been released, and you can download it on www.ufi.org/research. We now have around 30% of all the global exhibition venue space based in China, and that country leads venue space available with a margin ahead of the US with 15.7% of global venue space available for exhibitions, and Germany with 7.5%, topping out the big 3. And you notice something? China, Germany, US are also the 3 most relevant global markets for our industry. So infrastructure matters, accessibility matters. And if you have the capacity to host big international events, you will actually host big international events if you can attract the right shows and audiences and communities to come to your destinations. And the impact that has, the positive impact, the social impact, the economic impact, the societal impact, we all know that. And we know this story, and we are thrilled to share it with policymakers and all around the world. And that's the great work that the ECA is doing together with all of us, supporting them. And as we leave 2023, this is my wish and this is my request to all of you for 2024. Please stay engaged on advocacy issues. Please stay involved in the projects ECA is rolling out to activate industry colleagues to support the work we try to do on your behalf as the associations. If we unite our voices, we will be heard. We've seen that this year. We will see that again next year. And in that spirit, happy holidays to all of you. And here is to a great 2024 from all of us at UFI.
And now from the Experiential Designers and Producers Association, after an event of golf, fishing, and catching up with old colleagues and friends, a record number of EDPA Access attendees totaled 325, finished up its EDPA Access in Bonita Springs, Florida. Be sure to save the dates for Access 2024. It will be held December the 3rd through the 5th in Palm Springs, California at the Hyatt Regency Indian Wells. If you enjoyed Access 2023, make sure you join EDPA and its associates for the next national event happening Sunday, February the 25th from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. in Nashville, just prior to the opening of Exhibitor Live. You can come aboard Nashville's General Jackson Showboat for an evening of fun, including dinner, casino games, and live music. Engaged tickets are $185 each for EDPA members, $225 each for non-members. That includes dinner, drink tickets, entertainment, and transportation to and from the Gaylord Opryland Resort and Convention Center. So be sure to head over to EDPA's website for more information. And with chapter news update from the Texas chapter, there will be a trivia night Wednesday, January the 10th. That is a Zoom meeting from 4 to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be sure to head over to the Texas chapter website for more information.
Hello, this is Steve Richards, board member from IFES, the International Federation of Exhibition and Event Services. IFES has recently entered into a partnership with the Greek Meetings Alliance, GMA, which is set to redefine collaboration and knowledge sharing. In the dynamic world of meetings and events, we know that collaborations are the name of the game, and this announcement promises mutual benefits for both organizations and a turbocharge to the exhibitions industry. Alongside the announcement, a panel discussion moderated by Tina Torrebaba at the open stage of 2023 Philoxenia, featuring the Executive Director of IFES, Uta Goretsky, and major players in the Greek events industry. This new collaboration involves education initiatives such as IFES bringing our next Masterclass Europe in 2024 to Athens, joining forces with the Athens Film Office Industry Days in collaboration with GMA. Members from both sides are also enthusiastic about sharing insights at each other's events throughout the year, covering the latest trends and developments in the exhibition and meetings industry and moving us forward together. Beyond events, IFES and GMA will collaborate on an education-focused initiatives, started with an education workshop at IMEX Frankfurt 2024. We are also planning joint research projects, surveys, and white papers to address global challenges. We share the goal of raising awareness around our partnership and the industry through a united, powerful voice. The partnership means increased visibility for members and a focus on building a connected global events community, because together we can believe we can make a significant impact. This is just the beginning. IFES is set to strengthen alliance with other like-minded associations around the world and stakeholder groups working to address common challenges to secure the future access and growth of the global events industry. For more information, watch this space.
Hello, everyone. This is Jim Worm reaching out on behalf of the EACA and all our trade show industry colleagues with our industry update on the Association Focus podcast. EACA closed out 2023 in its traditional way with a meeting of the full board at the EDPA Access meeting in Florida. The EACA board undertook a review of the association's organizational and financial status and asserted that the state of our association is strong. The board also reviewed its initiatives for 2023 with its efforts in support of the industry's future workforce taking precedent. But most importantly, the board held its annual elections to bring on new directors and to officially impanel its officers for 2024. EACA's officers for 2024 are Durrell Jensen with CDI USA as incoming president. Rick Belligeau of Momentum Management is incoming vice president. Matthew Little of New Vista is incoming treasurer. And Bob Dubinsky of Corporate Events IND is incoming secretary. EACA also added 3 directors to the board for 5-year terms. They include Bill Muller of Nth Degree, who was reelected to the board, and 2 new directors, Steve Riches of Laguna Displays and Patrick Lancaster of Lancaster Management. Congratulations to all our board members. Looking forward to working with you for 2024. So that does it for this week's update. The EACA wishes a happy holiday season to all our members and industry colleagues, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year. Meanwhile, if you have any questions or requests for support from the EACA, always welcome to reach out to me, Jim Worm, by email at jimworm@eaca.com.
Well, it's great to hear all the updates from those associations. Again, there's a lot of good people working in a lot of great organizations to really make sure our industry continues to prosper. And it's always great to hear what they're doing. So as we said earlier, it's been a really crazy year, but a lot of activity and a lot of good work's been done.
For our regular listeners, you may have not heard Julie Keggie's voice in that. She was buried this week. I'll just be honest with you. She apologized profusely because she's an advocate in coming in and bringing the updates with ESCA, but she's actually our main interview for tomorrow's Exhibitor Now show. So anyway, we'll have that in tomorrow's show. Also, just a couple of points of interest. Our next show will be January the 18th. As you remember, we go monthly with this show now as opposed to every other week. And of course, if something breaks, like we did just a couple of weeks ago, Tommy and I will jump in with an association podcast extra. And speaking of that name, we've actually asked our designers to redo the logo and the name to Association and Advocacy Focus Podcast. And how I missed that, it's, you know why? It's because it was Mark, Ready, Fire, Aim. I didn't plan it out. And I'm just as guilty as everybody else is in 2023, but we're going to make it right in 2024. So we're really looking forward to getting even deeper with our associations who support the ECA and get them on board with giving you updates on what's going on. Let's tie it all up. Mark, anything extra you'd like to add?
No, I guess, Mike, I would say don't be hard on yourself. Again, it's not perfection, it's progress. So we just keep working on those things as an industry, as a company, as individuals. That's all we can do. And it's been a phenomenal 23. And I think 24 is even going to be better. So I know there's going to be a lot of things to talk about. There's a lot of changes coming. We don't see what they are, but I hope everybody continues to join in and follow us and ask us any questions that we can do some research on. But we're excited about the year. And guys, I've really enjoyed hanging out with you. It's been a lot of fun, and hope you have a nice holiday season.
Tommy, what you got going on again for the holidays? I know we can't share another piece of prime rib because that was a great dinner we had that night and a good talk.
All good conversation should happen over a good cut of prime rib. But no, Mike was being very generous in explaining the name of the podcast. I've actually been lobbying him for that for months. So I don't just do the lobbying out there and on Capitol Hill and in the state houses. I do it behind the scenes too. But no, I appreciate that the advocacy will be front and center, and I appreciate this podcast for being able to help ECA share the news of the industry. I appreciate all the associations that contribute. And, this is a season of thankfulness. I'm thankful to the 2 gentlemen that I am on this podcast with every month who give us the platform to share the news and to get the word out. And so to them, to our listeners, and to everyone, very happy holidays. And we look forward to talking to you more next year.
And if somebody could find that link for the Ready, Fire, Aim Fix Kit on Amazon, please send it over to me and I'll be good for 2024 from the Association and Advocacy Focus Podcast.